As areas all over the world burn as a result of climate change, for example, the Pacific Northwest, a lobbyist for big oil has revealed that his company not only has aggressively fought against science, but also owns approximately 11 US senators that he relies on to push his pro fossil fuel agenda. And this is the true bipartisanship in Congress right now. So before I get into the details, I'm just going to have to say this. I'm not surprised. Uh, of course, you're not surprised either. Y'all are the smartest audience online. I love every one of you. And you know this. You already know that fossil fuel companies and lobbyists own most of Congress. Nonetheless, this is good evidence of what we already knew, what we already suspected. And so let's get into it. This was actually captured by some insider work from Greenpeace UK. Their investigators posed as people who were looking to hire a Washington, D.C. lobbyist for an unspecified major client. And so they approached Mr. Keith McCoy, a senior ExxonMobil lobbyist who agreed to speak to them over Zoom. And a lot of this was very, very revealing. The video that was released, and I'm going to put a link to it in YouTube, or I'm sorry, in the description for their YouTube link. To this video, I suggest that you watch it in full. It's an excellent report. I'm going to show a little bit of it just to give you a little taste. Take a look.
I liken it to fishing, right? You have bait, you throw that bait out, it's all these opportunities that you use, and to use the fishing analogy again, just to kind of reel them in, because they're a captive audience. They know they need you, and I need them.
Senators pressed to do Exxon's bidding behind closed doors.
You want to be able to go to the chief. Yeah. And so the chief knows you, that you can go to the chief and say, look, we've got this issue. We need Congressman so-and-so to be able to either introduce this bill. We need him to make a floor statement. We need him to send a letter. Yeah. You name it. We've asked for everything. Joe Manchin, I talk to his office every week. He is the kingmaker, and he's not shy about sort of staking his claim early and completely changing the debate.
Legal declarations show that Senator Manchin has received tens of thousands of dollars from ExxonMobil and its trade associations. Keith McCoy names 10 other senators as crucial to ExxonMobil. Senators Mark Kelly, Chris Coons, Shelley Moore Capito, Kirsten Sinema, John Tester, Maggie Hassan, John Barrasso, Steve Daines, John Cornyn, and Marco Rubio. All bar Kelly and Hassan have taken money from Exxon totaling $117,000.
I love that. Not the fact that, of course, that our Congress is bought and paid for, but that somebody's actually talking about it, that this has made pretty big news in media. So I can't wait till more people talk about this, till more actual mainstream sources cover this. It's a pretty big deal. So now there was more that was revealed. For one, the company, of course, secretly fought against legislative action on climate change using particular third-party organizations. Of course, you've got think tanks that go and muddy the waters. Not only that, but they also regard trade bodies like the American Petroleum Institute as quote-unquote whipping boys in order to avoid public scrutiny on Capitol Hill. In fact, here's what McCoy had also said about, when you have a CEO, for example, that is called up for questioning. Somebody like, for example, Katie Porter or Elizabeth Warren or AOC would try to call these people into Congress and in front of a hearing, talk about climate change, and they refuse. In fact, here's what he said about that. Quote, "We don't want it to be us to have these conversations, especially in a hearing. It's getting our associations to step in and have those conversations and answer those tough questions and be, for the lack of a better term, the whipping boy for some of these members of Congress. There was something we were working on earlier this week where our CEO was invited to a hearing from a member of Congress who we know is just going to rip him to shreds when he goes there. So we look at it and we say, well, why us? Why us indeed? I mean, why answer questions that we know are complete and look, the answers that we give are going to be bullshit. So why even put ourselves there? We know we're bullshitting. We know we're lying about the climate. Oh no, climate change. We're doing absolutely everything we can to fight climate change. Yes. When actually, no, you're not doing anything to fight climate change. You're doing everything you can to line your pockets. Because that's what a corporation is for. 100%. Now, there's more. McCoy also talked about how this successfully lobbied to remove or diminish climate change measures from President Biden's $2 trillion infrastructure and jobs bill. They told the congressman, quote, just stick to the roads and the bridges. Not stick to the waterfalls, though. You know. Or maybe they should stick to the waterfalls before they get polluted. But basically, hey, members of Congress, be a good little bitch and do our bidding. That's what we pay you to do. So go ahead and take these things that we find objectionable out of Biden's already pretty mediocre, pretty weak sauce infrastructure bill for us. And they did. And they did. This is why right now the government will do next to nothing on climate change, because you have these people, these corporations that have bought our politicians. That's it. It's insane. The fact that we live in a system right now which allows these lobbyists to go and literally pay our politicians for access to them, for a meeting. And guess what? Those politicians, of course, they're going to listen to the people that are signing their paychecks. It's insane that the Supreme Court can sit there and look at that and say, oh, no, that's not corruption. They're just talking to the congressman. That's all they're doing. They're just talking to them. This technically is legalized prostitution in a way. I mean, when you think about it. Oh, but we're giving them money for our time. I mean, and they're basically using that to screw us, the rest of us, over. So, yeah, the people who are getting fucked in this situation, it's us. It's us. So, yes, not only that, but of course they're also going to listen to the lobbyists when there is a gigantic revolving door in our government. After you serve your donors, and you do a good job serving the donors, and you make sure to block any sort of progressive legislation that might actually hurt the bottom lines of these companies, then you get to work for them in a super cushy job that pays really, really well. Lobbying, you might even come back and lobby your friends, your colleagues over lunch. That's what's going on here. This is one gigantic circle jerk as our planet fries. And that's what's happening. And the fact that it's legal, that this is considered legal in this country, and not only legal, but part for the course. Well, of course, you've got to spend all this money. Of course, you got to buy politicians. Fucked up. Totally fucked up. Beyond. There's more. Here's what McCoy said. Did we aggressively fight against some of the science? Yes, I would argue that they've argued against all the science when it came to climate change, even their own findings. But he says, did we hide our science? Absolutely not. Did we join some of these shadow groups to work against some of the early efforts? Yes, that's true, but there's nothing illegal about that. We're looking out for our investments. We're looking out for our shareholders. What more proof do you need? Corporations run our country. It is funny that we got Elon Musk that's talking about, oh, the AIs, the machines are going to take over, right? It's kind of already here. Honestly, corporations are legal entities that are essentially machines. They are machines. They've been created with one purpose: to maximize profit for shareholders at the expense of anyone else. Anybody that's living on this planet, because guess what? We're all affected by climate change. And if you're in the way of a pipeline, they get the cops to remove you. We saw that at Standing Rock. If your house is in the way, they're going to try to buy it. And if they can't buy it, if that doesn't work, if you're not selling, then they might get people in Congress, their lackeys, to try to remove you through eminent domain. If you try to stop them, they will crush you. These are not people. Corporations are not people, my friend. They are amoral, profit-making machines. Now, of course, McCoy was a little embarrassed after this Zoom call got out. Here's his statement. Quote, "My statements clearly do not represent ExxonMobil's positions on important public policy issues. While some of my comments were taken out of context, which ones? Which ones? There's no excuse for what I said or how I said it. Weak. Super weak apology. Bullshit. ExxonMobil has been burying the science and muddying the waters on climate change for decades. They've been hiding the science. And they pay politicians to lie, to say that there are no climate change, that it's not happening. Climate change isn't happening. What are you talking about? I can go outside and I can go get a snowball and I can bring it into the Senate chambers. Hey, look up. What are you talking about? There's snow outside. You idiot. There's no climate change. And now it's, of course, well, climate's always been changing. That's who they are. That's who they are. They buy our politicians to sandbag progress, even knowing they're told that it's taking on our environment. Seattle has been burning. And it's not from Antifa, okay? It's from climate change. And Republicans, by the way, Republicans were all about, oh my God, I can't believe we're burning down blocks. But when California is on fire with wildfires, as a result of human-induced climate change, Republicans are suddenly silent about this. Weird. Or they blame something else. Wonder why. We know the answer. But more importantly, I think we know the solution to this. You got to get the money out of politics. It is the ultimate poison. The fact that we have this in our system, that we have a system where these companies can buy and sell congressmen. It's got to change. If it doesn't, then we're not going to ever be able to do anything meaningful on climate change before it's too late. If you enjoyed this video, please give us a like and share with your friends. You can subscribe and help out the channel by becoming a patron. It's patreon.com/Jeff Waldorf, or you can become a channel member as well by hitting the join button below.